right. I'm so excited to be here. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Charles Thomas. I am Charlotte's program director for Knight Foundation.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining. I have a couple of questions, and I'll start with the first one. Merriam-Webster defines philanthropy as goodwill to fellow members of the human race, an act or gift done or made for humanitarian purposes, an organization distributing or supported by funds set aside for humanitarian purposes. After hearing this, how do you think Black philanthropy is similar or different from the definition I read?
I believe Black philanthropy is similar to the definition around supporting our fellow community members, our brothers and sisters, as we say, because it's like family. Black philanthropy operates in ways that are financial as well as include giving of our time and talent. So I think all to advance our fellow, our brother and sister, our community, whether they're related to us or not. So I think they align to how the Black community gives.
Okay, all right. For our next question, many people think of philanthropists as people who make large cash donations. Even now, Black-led, Black benefiting U.S. organizations receive less than 2% of all philanthropic dollars. How do you think Black philanthropy has helped fill this void?
Well, just the statistics tells you that Black philanthropy has to be there in order to, because there is a void. And the beauty is that we have statistics that show that as a community, we give a larger percentage of our income than any other demographic group in America. And so so there's two elements here. So one, there's the historic systemic leaving out discrimination, undermining of the Black community when it comes to philanthropy, when what the images show, and it appears as if we are the recipients of all this philanthropy, when in fact it's not true when you look at this data and statistic. And what is not shown is how we are suppliers of philanthropy in the many ways that we give, from financial to the collective works that we do in our communities, in the nonprofits and the churches that we volunteer for, to the everyday work we do to our next door neighbor to ensure that whether it's our elders or all of our community is fed and taken care of. So again, this is a telling statistic, and it's worth diving into, and it's worth really being clear where Black community is showing up and being clear where America is not showing up for us.
Okay. All right. The Greek root of philanthropy may be literally translated as loving people. Can you share an example of Black philanthropy that doesn't involve a cash donation?
Sure. So as I was sharing earlier, I was just thinking about how we all give from whether it's participating in our church, volunteering, our time and our talent. I kind of don't want to share a story about myself, but maybe I should, because of what I do as a photographer, and it's important to share these stories. But I just the elders that are around me, that live near me, I'm consistently wanting to be a good neighbor and be supportive of them, and so making sure that they have the resources they need, or even there have been times where I've had to help them in an emergency situation. They called me, and that's an honor. And I think that's an example of giving of my time and talent, and it not being, and because to advance my community. So that's an example. And then recently I was on a trip to DC with communities and schools, and there were about 15 mentors on that trip, and about 15 to 20 students, majority Black students, majority Black mentors, giving their time to walk with students through the African American Museum, and to share their social capital with these students. So to say, hey, how can I help you with being in graduating high school? How can I help you in your next leg of your career? Who do I know? And opening up not our checkbook, but our contact book to share with the future generation. So I see that so often in our community. And again, it's a story that I think we all need to share, what we're doing personally and what we see in our community. And I appreciate that you're documenting this, because we just need to continue to tell the story of how, and raise up how we are philanthropists.
Right. Thank you. I agree. So even though the term Black philanthropy has only been around for a couple of decades, the practice has its origins in African traditions and practices. What are your origins in Black philanthropy?
My origins start with my mom and my grandparents, and seeing how my grandfather was a Christian Methodist Episcopal minister, and my grandmother went on to do that as well. So being a minister of a church, seeing how they gave their time to the church community, and they also gave literally their talents, whether it's preaching or whether it's playing a song, which is what my grandmother was, a concert pianist, to my mom, who contributed so much for me as a single mom, and then to our community, our neighborhood, a neighborhood where public assistance, public housing. She went on to become the manager of the apartment complex that we lived in, and worked with youth after school, providing assistance to the residents to access the internet and get on computers and build their resumes. So my family is the origin of the philanthropy that I've seen, and we're a family of teachers and ministers, and my mom's gone on to be a minister. So so it's how we operate in. And so that's where my origins started, and I'm thrilled to be in the practice of it through the giving circle that I'm a part of, New Generation of African American Philanthropists, and through the work that I do at Knight Foundation.
Okay. All right. And last question. Thank you so much for giving of your time, talents, and treasure. What advice do you have for future generations regarding Black philanthropy?
So the advice that I have for future generations of Black philanthropists is to, one, tell your story, to recognize how we give in a variety of ways, to counter the narrative that we are only recipients of philanthropy from folks that don't look like us and dress a certain way, and that we all have the ability to be philanthropists, and as such to feel the power of doing that. But I do think the story of how we give is important, even though we all want to be humble, because there's such a strong narrative that says otherwise. It's critical that we honor ourselves and celebrate one another, and celebrate the diverse and the creative ways that we give, so that all of us can see ourselves in the meaning of philanthropy as love of humankind, and that we are part of the change that we most seek to see in the world.
All right. Well, thank you. Any last closing thoughts or words you want to leave?
Happy Black Philanthropy Month. Thank you so much for taking the time to celebrate and to invite me to be a part of the conversation and celebration. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.